The original Fatal Fury back in 1991 was SNK's first ever fighting game for the popular Neo Geo arcade and console systems. Not only did it go on to spawn a wealth of successful sequels, but it was also the beginning of another popular SNK franchise, this being King of Fighters, with many characters and themes being intertwined. However, a very notable aspect of King of Fighters was not shared. Mai's ever so popular and equally hypnotic breast bounce was censored for many years in Western King of Fighters titles. Over on the Fatal Fury side, and in most cases this was not the case, Mai was added to the roster starting with Fatal Fury 2, and even in the SNES versions, their chest displays a very noticeable bounce overseas. But it is old school Nintendo we're talking about, and so everything was far from peaches and cream. Mai still had her boob censored in the two Western SNES titles that had her present, but only during a certain win animation. The uncensored footage to the left is actually taken from the English Genesis release of Fatal Fury 2. So Sega, as was pretty common back then, didn't make the same edits. This is also true with yet another Mai censor, this time the censorship of her thong, which was again made to both Nintendo games outside of Japan. There was one more change exclusive to Nintendo of America, and this time we're talking about the very first title, Fatal Fury 1, although surprisingly it surely should have been even worse than it was. The character portraits when losing a match showed the defeated covered in bloody injuries. This was however not censored in Western SNES versions. There are a long list of examples where Nintendo censored the exact same thing in other games. Take a look at Super Street Fighter 2, and then the Genesis version. Fatal Fury 1 on the other hand is completely faithful to the arcade original. On the flip side, the portraits you get when winning were censored. Here's the Genesis version to compare. Now then, the later games in the series were not ported to the Super Nintendo, but by no means would this mark the end of censorship. A few sequels later and the loose portraits would be edited again. Real Bout Fatal Fury 2 displayed fairly graphic images for each of the fighters. Outside of Japan, these were removed with nothing left in their place. The worst case of censorship though would not be until the PS2's Battle Archives Volume 2. This collection ported Real Bout 1, 2 and Special to the Sony system, all on the same disc, but despite its teen rating, had the blood harshly censored for non-Japanese versions. In Real Bout 1, the red stuff was changed into a putrid green. Real Bout Special also used heavy blood effects. This time it'd be changed into a milky white. Now, whilst the Japanese version escaped these changes, this would not be the case for an edit made to Mary in Real Bout Special. Previously, all regions had her lose her clothes in a spectacular fashion, albeit this came with a complicated set of requirements. You would have to win by knocking the opponent out of bounds, in specifically the Sound Beach stage, whilst at the same time also being out of bounds. In other words, you'd have to both fall in the water with Mary crashing down last. In the PS2 release, this was taken out for all versions, and instead simply results in this. However, given the time frame, the removal is actually understandable, with SNK now having to take orders from Japan's CERO rating system, which categorically forbids topless nudity. It sucks, but that's the reality of censorship in Japan even today.